Hello and welcome to a new segment called Ask Nadav, where I answer questions from viewers just like you. Today's question is from Roberto. Roberto wants to know what's better, a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA? Well, Roberto, I'll tell you that when it comes to personal finance is exactly that, personal. So there's no one size fits all best answer all the time for everybody. But if you ask me which I prefer, personally, I prefer a Roth IRA over a traditional IRA in most cases, and I'll explain why. Interestingly, I've heard people point out that mathematically it all works out the same whether you do a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA, because if you're making the same contributions and your tax rate stays the same and you have the same rate of return on your investments in your account, mathematically it works out the same. But I don't think they're really pound for pound the same, and I'll tell you why. I personally like the Roth IRA for three reasons. The first reason I prefer a Roth IRA is because you have the capability to take some of that money if you need it. Right? When it comes to a traditional IRA, your money's locked away till the age of 59 and a half. Before the age of 59 and a half, you can't get any money out of that account unless you pay a 10% penalty. Right? But when it comes to a Roth IRA, if you're in a pinch and for whatever reason you do need the money, you can take out the money that you've contributed to your account. The money that you put in to be able to grow with investments, that money that you put in, since you've already paid taxes up front, you're allowed to take that money out. Right? I don't recommend you take the money out. It's better if you can let it grow tax-free. But if you're in a situation where you really do need the money, you can access it in a Roth IRA. But in a traditional IRA, you're going to pay a 10% penalty, and it's going to cause you all kinds of problems. So for that reason, I prefer a Roth IRA. The second reason is what's called required minimum distributions, right? Required minimum distributions, RMDs. When it comes to a traditional IRA, at some point, you're going to have to take money out of your account. The IRS is going to demand that at a certain point, there's a required minimum that you have to take out each year. And if you don't take it out, they're going to cause you all kinds of problems. But with a Roth IRA, say you have enough money to live off of, right? Maybe your spouse has money, or you just have other money, or you have some inheritance, or whatever it is, for whatever reason, you have money and you don't need to touch the Roth IRA. You can let it continue to grow tax-free forever and ever, or at least until you die, right? You can let it continue to grow, and that's an awesome thing. And I think that that is a big difference between a Roth IRA versus a traditional IRA. For the third difference, the reason I prefer a Roth IRA is because I know that I'm going to be able to take this money out of the account after the age of 59 and a half completely tax-free. Right? So I don't know what taxes are going to be like in, a bunch of years from now when I go to retirement age. I don't know what it's going to be, and I don't really care, right? Because I know that I'm going to be able to take that money out tax-free later on, right? And I believe, hopefully, I'm working on these investments and hopefully they'll grow and hopefully they'll be a really large number, right? And if it's a really large number that I have in that account, hopefully I can take a lot more money out each year. So my personal annual income could be really high. Say I put money in and I make millions of dollars in profits, right? Hopefully. So then I'd be able to take that out and I could have a very large annual income, and I won't have to pay taxes on my new very large annual income. With a traditional IRA, right, hopefully it also grows and it becomes worth millions and millions of dollars. But when you take that money out with a traditional IRA, you're going to have to pay taxes on whatever you take out in your retirement years, right? So that's going to affect the amount of money that you have in those golden years, because you're going to be paying a whole bunch of money in taxes, and the IRS is going to want those taxes. But with a Roth IRA, you can take it out, and whatever you take out, that's yours to keep. You pay the taxes on the front end, and you get to keep everything on the back end. So that's why personally I prefer the Roth IRA. This is not financial advice. You should speak with a certified investment professional, and they'll tell you what's best for you. And personal finance is personal. Whatever's best for you, that's what you should do, and that you should go with. But that's my 2 cents. I prefer the Roth IRA. If you have a question that you'd like me to answer on the next Ask Nadav segment, go ahead and leave it in the comments, or you can hit me up on social, or you can find me via my website, financiallysavvyparent.com. I'm Nadav Reese, the financially savvy parent that you always wish you had. I appreciate you joining the family, and I look forward to answering your questions in future segments.